Switch gears to that culture clash in Arizona that sparked so much reaction this week over a bill that would allow businesses to refuse services to gays and lesbians by invoking the right to practice their religion. Governor Jan Brewer resolved the issue in her state by vetoing the bill, but as ABC's Cecilia Vega reports, that will not end a spirited nationwide debate.
It was the Arizona bill that ignited a national firestorm.
Nobody rides at the back of the bus and everybody sits at the lunch counter. We fought that battle once, and that's what this battle is.
With polls showing a public shift on gay rights, a majority of Americans now support same-sex marriage. The pressure for Arizona Governor Jan Brewer to veto the bill was fierce. Major American companies came out swinging, calling Arizona's law bad for business. In the end, Brewer vetoed the bill.
Thank you, Jan! Religious liberty is a core American and Arizona value. So is non-discrimination.
This as some of the most conservative states have become the new battleground in the same-sex marriage war. A federal judge just last week striking down Texas's ban. So-called religious freedom laws like the one so fiercely debated in Arizona now seen as yet another weapon in the fight by supporters of the bill.
We want for people to be able to have their belief systems respected without the threat of being sued.
What about the belief system, the sexual orientation, the identity of an entire community? Where's the respect come in for that?
There needs to be some sort of mutual respect here.
Proponents of the failed bill are still hoping to push it forward in other states, while gay rights supporters predict the same outcome.
I think it was a serious miscalculation on the part of our opponents, and I'd be surprised if any of these gained real traction.
For This Week, Cecilia Vega, ABC News, Phoenix.
Let's get the roundtable now. Congressman Kinzinger is back, along with Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, Van Jones from CNN's Crossfire, and our own Cokie Robertson. Cokie, let me begin with you. You know, the veto, one more sign of how swiftly the culture is changing. There was so much pressure on Jan Brewer to issue that veto.
The only surprising thing was how long it took her to do it. The business community was all over her. Marriott hotels basically saying, you know, nobody will ever go to Arizona again, and the whole country really was up in arms. Now Arizona continues to do these things. You know, they've done it with immigration, and they've done it with all kinds of issues. Dr. King's birthday, exactly. So you never knew what they were going to end up with, but they finally ended up in a place that's not only economically sensible for them, but much more sensible for the
Rich Lowry, you called the veto foolish.
Yeah, this, if you get to the facts of this, the law was the subject of a tsunami of poorly informed indignation. It was two minor changes to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Arizona, which has been on the books for 15 years, was modeled on a federal law championed by Ted Kennedy, signed by Bill Clinton, and all it says is that if you're going to substantially burden someone's exercise of a religion, there has to be a compelling governmental interest at stake. So the idea that this would create an anti-gay jihad was completely false.
Let me say a couple things about that. First of all, that so-called minor expansion, when people looked at it, it actually opened up a whole Pandora's box. More importantly, the only justifications for doing it were anti-gay justifications, and that's what really blew this thing up. They didn't say there's 57 problems. They said the problem has to do with gay folks. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm passionate about this, and a lot of people are. The one great achievement of the last century, we took out of American lexicon 6 words. We don't serve your kind here. We took those words out. It took the civil rights movement to do it. Dr. King got killed trying to do it. We don't serve your kind here is not acceptable anymore. Those no blacks allowed signs came down. We don't want to see no gays signs allowed in this country. And it was a very emotional issue.
That's not what this law would have done.
Absolutely
would. If you own a coffee shop and you refuse to serve a gay person, one, you're an idiot. Two, you're not going to have a defense of under this law because serving someone coffee is not a burden on your religion. The cases we're talking about that are relevant here is bakers, florists, photographers who are evangelical Christians or Catholics who say, I don't have any problem with gay people, but I don't want to participate in a gay wedding because I have conscientious objections to it. And there have been cases where people have been punished, Van, for that, reported to the authorities for sanctions or fines. That is wrong, and that's what is trying to be addressed here.
One of the reasons that it's so important to draw these lines is that we have some cases right now in the Supreme Court which are saying that people who are business owners, not religious religious institutions and not religiously affiliated institutions like Catholic hospitals, for instance. But business owners saying we don't have to provide contraceptive coverage because we disagree with it.
Let me bring the conversation in. Do you think most of your colleagues and House Republican colleagues were relieved by the veto?
Well, look, I think what's very interesting about all this, and as a federal guy, I try not to always get involved in other states that I don't live in, but I'll tell you what's it always works out. But what's interesting is the politics of this. I mean, if you look at something became whether, unjustifiably or justifiably a very big deal, you had the NFL threatening to pull out, you had bans being threatened. It's interesting to see how the politics on this issue works now, where you can bring, in essence, the free market in to bring pressure on state government. In some ways, I read someone said the Fortune 500 has become the most effective lobby for gay rights right now. But let me press you on this, Van. You made a passionate case right there. What about those who argue that, how about live and let live? If a florist doesn't want to work at a gay wedding, then the couple can go somewhere else.
Sure. A couple things. First of all, this idea that you can blame religion for bigotry. I heard that growing up. I had white adults tell me God separated the races after the flood, after Noah's Ark. So therefore, it's a religious obligation for us to maintain segregation. You can't, look, if you want to be a bigot in your own time, that's fine. But if you want to extend that to your LLC, to your business that you own and hold it out to the public, you can't point to God to excuse your bigotry. Not
But you get the last word on this.
Yeah, it's different than the situation in the Jim Crow South, where you had state-sanctioned system of discrimination that was flatly unconstitutional, and there was a governmental interest in ensuring that African Americans could travel in the South, which you couldn't do if no hotel or no restaurant would serve you. In this case, the wedding industry is not bristling with hostility to gay people. You're dealing with the occasional baker or florist who has a genuine conscientious objection, and if they do, you can find another baker or florist.